Coming to you live from San Antonio, Texas. This is a Drinking Buddies podcast. I'm Quentin.
And I'm Alex.
And welcome to our show.
On this podcast, you're going to hear about all things sports. Specifically, we're going to talk about basketball. We're going to talk about football. We'll talk about baseball and
the philosophy of the game. Welcome to another edition of Drinking Buddies podcast. My name is Quentin.
And I'm Alex.
And welcome to our show. Today, we're going to talk about the UT Longhorns. We're going to discuss the UT-UTSA game, both of my alma maters. And let's kick it off.
All right, man. Segment 1, Birds, Horns recap. Let's talk about it. It was quite a beatdown. I mean,
oh, yeah.
What a difference from a year ago.
Yeah.
When UTSA actually was beating the Longhorns through a good part of the game.
Right.
And the Longhorns had to muster up the courage to come back and win the game.
They gave him everything they could handle last year.
They did. But this year, like I said, what a difference a year makes.
Right.
I mean, they just completely got crushed. There were some moments where UTSA made it look like, wow, maybe they're going to do something. And the Longhorns just have so many five-star recruits. They just have guys up and down the lineup that just, those guys are, you know they're going to be in the NFL someday.
Oh, for sure. You can tell they're just in a different echelon right now.
Jeez.
They're in a different category, different tier.
Absolutely. I mean, you look at where the Longhorns ranked on their recruiting class this year, they're number 6.
Wow.
And if you've watched any of the other teams, Georgia, Alabama, Oregon, the U, Ohio State, tell me who looks better than them of those teams.
Honestly, and this is going to sound homerish, UT looks like the best team right now.
With the 6th best recruiting class in 2024 and projected 8th best recruiting class in 2025. That means they're doing their homework. They're going out, finding the right guys that fit the system, and Sarkisian's making things happen. I mean, that guy went from being like, oh my gosh, he's a drunken coach, to he actually is getting stuff done.
Yeah, and their productivity in the recruitment class, like you said, is they're going to have multiple first-round picks in the upcoming drafts.
Yep.
Right? This year, Quinn Ewers is probably going to be a top 15 pick.
I think top 10, and that's what we were talking about yesterday. That's where we kind of differ, but he's going in the first round.
For sure. And with that, it's a good segue into talking about the game last night when Quinn Ewers got injured.
Yeah.
So
we both thought it might have been appendicitis, but it wound up being an abdominal strain. So, I mean, you just saw him grabbing to the side. He was not feeling well. I mean, and Manning came in, to his credit.
Oh, my God.
That guy's a champion, guys. We're looking at greatness getting ready to start right now.
He is not just hype. He is the real deal.
No hyperbole there. He's the real thing.
When you talk about going 9 for 12, 223 yards, and 5 touchdowns, one of them rushing, that is a great day altogether, let alone coming in as the backup, because the way he took control of the offense, his first 2 touches, right, his first 2 plays, went for a passing touchdown and then a 67-yard rushing touchdown.
That was breakaway speed.
He juked. He juked his way out.
Defensive backs, those are fast cats. He blew by everybody for that touchdown.
Right. So when you look at the season so far, Quinn Ewers is 58 for 79, which is 73%, which is good. He's got, 8 touchdowns, 2 interceptions, and 691 yards.
Wow.
Arch Manning, in the limited action he's gotten, 14 for 18, 318 yards. He's averaging 17.7 yards per completion as compared to Ewers' 8.7.
Yeah.
He's throwing it at 77%. He's got 5 passing touchdowns,
and
2 rushing touchdowns.
That's right, because he had one last week.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right. So he is dominating. Like, he is. Every time he touches the ball, something interesting's happening. Something amazing's happening.
Both of those guys are good, but later on in the show, we are going to talk about when it gets to the point of the playoffs, who we think needs to be there at the end. And I think we're both in agreement on that one.
Actually, maybe not.
Okay.
We'll see. We'll talk about that. But as far as what you saw from the game yesterday, what are some of the takeaways that you got from UT? I know they were playing an inferior opponent in UTSA. UTSA doesn't have Frank Harris anymore, so they're not the same squad.
And they've lost running back, and they've lost some on the offensive and defensive line, and they've lost secondary help. One of them is an NFL Pro Bowl player. Yeah,
Tariq Woolen.
Which is amazing. Who would have sat here and thought, hey, UTSA is going to produce NFL quality players? They got them.
Not just NFL, because they've had some NFL players before, but Pro Bowl caliber players.
Yeah.
So shout out to UTSA for the work they've done. They've only been in existence for 12 years.
Coach Traylor's taken them to another level.
They won their first bowl game last year.
Yeah.
And the future is, I don't want to say it's looking super bright for UTSA because they need to, they need the recruits, but
that's where it is. They need to dig deeper and find recruits because they're
kind of hard when UT
light
is
right
taking
now.
Everyone though.
Oh yeah, well,
people are transferring from different programs.
I hate that our state gets pillaged so much by these other states like Alabama and Georgia,
Oklahoma,
and Oregon, and frickin' Ohio's comes in here and takes 2 or 3 guys. It's sickening, but when you have the best state for football of any state, bar none, that includes you, California. What can you say? We have the patent and the monopoly on football in the great state of Texas.
I agree with that. But as far as what you saw from Anthony Hill Jr., the superstar linebacker for the Longhorns, what were your takeaways with him leading the defense? He had 11 tackles.
I know. Like what we were talking about yesterday, name one weakness the Longhorns have. The only weakness they have from not even a physical standpoint, is complacency. Mm-hmm. Because there were moments in the game where they just kind of went through the motions and they let UTSA get a little drive, and all of a sudden they were like, "Shut the hell up," and gave them a smack. They're just, if you look at every position, I mean, the O-line, stout, right? You've got that guy Brandon Baker Jr. at the offensive tackle.
We also have Kelvin Banks Jr., who's going to be a top 10 pick this year.
That's scary, man. They have so much depth. They're running backs. A couple of them have dropped off. They put someone else in there, and he just goes. I mean, it's almost like they're manufacturing players in the freaking locker room.
Yeah, and to that point, I think when it comes to not just their defense but their offense, they have so many studs on that team. But when you think about the sheer star potential with these 5-star recruits that they've got coming in the next couple of years, I mean, they're just reloading and reloading. You see people coming in, second and third stringers coming in, putting
kicking
on a show,
ass. I mean, look, the kid that they talked about yesterday that was playing lacrosse last year.
Was it Bjerk?
I'm not sure who it was. He picked off the pass and ran it in for a touchdown. That gave him their 56 point. Wow. I mean, that kid, if you've got that kind of depth at third string, that's saying something.
And they were a little bit complacent to start the game. I agree with that because they looked a little bit rusty for some reason, and they're playing UTSA. They looked a little bit complacent is the word.
Yeah, that's exactly what I was saying. That's the only weakness they have because they've got running backs. Even their backup running backs are badass.
You know when it changed? When Arch came in.
Oh.
It changed when he came in because he excites the crowd.
They were hot.
His first pass was a touchdown. That got the crowd in it.
Yep.
And from then, they didn't look back. They just kept running it down their throat. They kept throwing the ball. They kept defensively just hunkering down.
Yeah.
I mean, they didn't have like the most. I think they only had like 3 sacks, but they were pressuring McCown the entire game.
Absolutely. And that game had some sex appeal to it too. If you looked at the sidelines, had a couple of Spurs there, Devin Vassell and Keldon Johnson.
Manu,
who was all chiseled. Keldon Johnson looks completely different.
And we'll get to the Spurs at some point in the preseason. So,
but yeah, Manu was there too. Manu, we love you, Manu. Yeah.
So I think that UT's future looks very, very bright.
Absolutely.
So
I mean, just talk about this draft class, bud. It's 6 overall. You got Ryan Wingo at wide receiver.
Isaiah Bond.
Yeah, you got Isaiah Bond.
That's right.
That was so cool when he did that.
Yeah, when he did that against the goalpost. Yeah.
Colin Siemens, that guy was a stud too.
Yeah.
Wow. I mean, and number 3 overall ranked in the ESPN top 50.
Right.
Texas was, 8th, I think, or 6th best class, but they got 3 of the top 10. In the state of Texas.
That's impressive.
That is, man. You're batting 300. That's good in baseball. So,
So that's actually a really good segue into our second segment, which is Fight Texas.
Fight Texas. Fight Texas.
Fight Texas. That's right.
That's right. I'm telling you, I went to Texas Tech. I played football there. You went to UT. You also went to Texas Tech your first year.
I started my collegiate career at Texas Tech, and I wound up finishing at UT Austin. But I grew up hating UT. I grew up rooting for the Red Raiders because you went there.
But I love both teams. But I just have such an excitement about this team this year that I haven't had since the Vince Young era.
Right.
It's great, man.
Growing up Red Raider fan, I did still love Vince Young. And I loved that team. And I was excited that they beat USC because I hated USC.
Oh, yeah.
But,
Matt Leinart and, Reggie Bush and all those jagoffs.
Oh, no, they had Dwayne Jarrett. They had some studs on that team.
I hated them.
Yeah, no, I couldn't
USC
stand them. Couldn't stand
punks.
them. But, now that I've graduated from UT, it just has a special place in my heart. I'm a Longhorn until I die. So
absolutely. But it's, they're just so well orchestrated. They have great coaching. The head coach has it all together. He's just a genius.
People want to play for Sarkisian.
Oh, they do. And you wonder how much of it was him,
right,
and how much of it was the man whose name we shall not mention.
Nick Saban. Yeah. Just a quick aside. I hate Nick Saban because he screwed over the Dolphins and he ruined Dante Culpepper's career. 20 years later, I'm still salty about that. So let's just get right into the topic, though, which is basically our playoff predictions. Between Georgia, Alabama, OSU, and Oregon, who do you think has the best shot at
the second seed? Because I think Texas is first.
Interesting. That's a nice take. I'd agree with that. And I mean, a lot of it is hopefully not wishful thinking because they look like the best team in football right now.
You know who looks second best? It ain't Georgia.
Ohio State.
It ain't Alabama, and it ain't Ohio State. I think it's Oregon.
Yeah, they're a dark horse for sure.
Dismantled Oregon State yesterday.
Yeah.
And that's usually a close game.
Yeah, I mean, it's a big rivalry game. So rivalry games are always...
Beat the shit out of them.
Yeah. I mean, Oregon, they're coming out of... I mean, not out of nowhere, but they're rising up the ranks pretty quickly.
They're a badass team, and they lost Bo Nix. And they got this other kid... his name is escaping me, but man, he's good.
Yeah.
The quarterback that took over for Nix is a badass.
And they got pieces, they got weapons, that running back. I mean,
and receiver.
Yeah.
I mean, they're stout.
Yeah. And they had a good recruiting class too.
Don't be surprised if they come in and they get that second seed. I think Texas all the way. I don't think there is a team in the country better than the Longhorns. I don't think so.
So do you think they're taking it this year?
I honestly, yeah. They have everything. Their special teams is good. Their offense, both the offensive line and defensive line. You've got badasses all up and down there. You got the linebackers. You got secondary. Because some teams in the past with the Longhorns, if they had the front seven, front eight good, the secondary sucked. Mm-hmm. Or if the secondary was pretty good, the linebackers sucked. And you had, spotty team defensive line that couldn't get in there and put pressure.
That's been true over the last decade.
Oh, my
Since
God.
McCoy left, they've had a lot of spotty,
They're everywhere, dude.
Yeah, all over the field.
And their offense is electric.
Yeah. And they have, 2 or 3 potential first-round picks on that offensive line right now.
Yep.
And then next year, they have people coming in that are going to fill those roles. So they're stacked, and they're going to continue to be stacked, and that's what makes them so deadly. Last year, we saw Washington put the hurt on them with Rome Odunze and Michael Penix and Jalen Polk, who all went in the NFL draft. But this year, I think it's going to be a lot different. UT just looks poised. Those moments where UT was expected to be the hot shot in town, and then they would just get beat.
They'd fizzle, or they lose to OU in the Red River Showdown.
Right.
This team is so well put together. The pieces fit. Even when they lose certain guys, they have other guys ready to step in. Just like what we talked about at quarterback yesterday.
Yeah.
That was phenomenal. And we're going to have to talk about that a little bit more because Ewers is definitely a badass and he's done a superb job. But when you want to get the number one spot in the playoffs, part of it's about your record. But there's probably going to be about 3 teams, maybe 4 teams that are unbeaten. Mm-hmm. And with that being said, then you have to start looking at, you have to impress with how bad you beat teams, right? You have to impress with star power and sex appeal. And if you think about it along those lines,
literal sex appeal.
Oh yeah, you got Matthew McConaughey if the guy would shower, right? But anyway, so here's my thing, guys. I think if you're the Longhorns, I think you got to go with Arch Manning the rest of the way. I think he's ready to take over. He's a sophomore. You're only going to get him for one more year, maybe two if you're lucky. I don't think he's going to play till his senior year. You have to start him now because you know what? That's what people want to see. They want to see Arch Manning. That's the sizzle that Texas needs for the voters to say, oh my God, they need to be the top seed. They need to be the team that everybody's watching. Because you're getting people on the sidelines now that are part of that UT sideline that are just like, wow, they're showing up. It's an event.
I'm going to disagree with you, and here's why. Yesterday, when Ewers went out, Arch Manning lit it up. But there were moments where he was pressured, where he got sacked, where he had to throw it away, where his accuracy wasn't there because he was getting pressured. He needs time to build into himself and build into this offense. He clearly has all of the tools necessary to be a champion. But what I would say is he is still really young, and that's a good thing. That's going to help him grow and mature more quickly. But when it comes to having Ewers out there, I think it's good to have that veteran leadership taking you in those big games. I really think the biggest litmus test is going to be Georgia, because when UT plays Georgia looked very shaky yesterday against Kentucky, and I know Kentucky's not horrible, but there's no reason that it should have been, what was it, 14-13?
14-13.
That was insane. And I know it's just the first 3 weeks, right? I know that this is just the first 3 weeks, and as this is being recorded, we're only 3 weeks in, so it's not a huge sample size, but that's a little bit alarming.
But you're talking about a team in Kentucky that just got their ass kicked by South Carolina. Mm-hmm. So that tells you a lot. I mean, Georgia should have lost that game.
Yeah,
they absolutely really should have. They just, Kentucky faltered at the end. I just feel like Georgia's taken just a tiny step back, especially at quarterback. I don't feel confident in their quarterback game. The Longhorns have it coming out of their ears. But my thing is, I think Arch Manning is ready to take over this team. I think you've got to curry favor with those voters, and I think the way you do that is you start Arch Manning, because he's the people that people want to see. That he's the quarterback that people want to see. That's the guy that everybody's like, man, I got to get a ticket to see, third generation Manning play football. And that's just a fact.
There's no doubt that he's a bigger draw, and that he ultimately is going to be the bigger player, a better player, I think, than Quinn Ewers, because Quinn Ewers to me is kind of like a Brady Quinn type of player, where he's got NFL upside, mechanically sound, not a world beater, but
and that's what I think Manning is a world beater.
Manning is a world beater.
Yeah.
But I do think that they need to give Ewers, I mean, that's Ewers' job to take.
Yeah.
And I think that Manning will get his this season. He's going to continue to come in, especially when they're blowing people out, or when, Ewers needs a break, gets hurt, and Manning is right there ready to go. And, every time he touches the ball, the crowd goes nuts.
Yeah.
So I think that's I see your point, but I do think that they need to stick with Ewers.
But conversely, if you play Manning and then he runs into a spot where he's got issues, you have a hell of a backup in Ewers.
But
you have
see,
somebody
here's the
that can
problem
come
with
in
that.
And can take care of business.
Here's the problem with that, though. When it comes to Manning stepping in, if he struggles, that's only going to hurt his development. You want him to have these games where he puts on this sort of larger-than-life show, right? 5 touchdowns coming in, that's a larger-than-life type of show. Mm. And the productivity that you get in that small sample size is amazing, but you don't want to hinder his progression. And I think that, here, let me just ask you this question. Do you think UT, with Quinn Ewers at the helm, can win the championship?
Probably.
Okay, do you think that they would with Manning?
Absolutely.
Okay. So you're going to say that they're actually better off with Manning starting?
Without a doubt. That guy's got wheels, he's got an arm, and he's got the legacy. I think he's ready.
Okay. Interesting take.
Good talk.
Good talk. That leads us into the next segment, Q&A.
With Q&A.
That's right.
That is damn right.
So, let me ask you. We've already talked about Arch Manning.
Yeah. Ad nauseum to some folks.
Not enough to some, too.
Right here, guilty as charged.
Both of us are huge fans.
Yep. Of all the Mannings, starting with Archie.
What do you think is his ceiling in terms of both at the NCAA level and at the NFL level?
NCAA level, I'm going to say he's going to give Vince Young a run for his money as far as UT legendum. And I think I just invented that word, legendum. But anyway, but I think as far as the NFL, it's funny you should ask. I think if you go, who is the most prolific quarterback in the NFL right now, bar none, it's Pat Mahomes. I think he has a chance to do some of the backyard crazy play, awesome, I can't believe that shit just happened before my eyes stuff that Pat Mahomes does.
I mean, I wouldn't disagree with that in the sense that he has that sort of generational upside.
Yeah.
I don't know if he's got that kind of ceiling. I mean, that's a bold statement to say he's going to be as good as Pat Mahomes, because Pat Mahomes is pushing Brady's legacy.
I think he has that kind of cachet. I think that people that are looking at some of the things, he's just scratching the surface.
Oh, I know. And he's putting up numbers.
So now when you talk about improvise, you know, Pat Mahomes is a gold standard in the NFL. But I think you're starting to see some of that with Arch Manning. I think he is starting to lay that out. Great at running the ball. You saw him blow by now. I know that's not five-star recruits that are like at Oklahoma or at Alabama or Georgia. But my God, he's got wheels on him. His arm strength is great. His accuracy is pinpoint. If you do a comparative between him and Mahomes, I give Mahomes the advantage on size. I give him the advantage on strength, and I give him, and I'm talking about arm strength and physical strength.
Right.
But he's also a guy that's 5 years in the NFL.
Mahomes?
Yeah.
Since 2017.
That's right. Okay,
7 years.
7 years. Yeah. But see, time's flying by. When you get older, time flies by even faster. When you talk about leadership, he's got all that on Manning. But when you look at Manning's side, can't you say he's faster? I think he proved it on that one run yesterday. If you talk about pedigree, yeah, Pat Mahomes' dad played professional baseball. But you're talking about Archie Manning. You're talking about Peyton Manning. You're talking about Eli Manning. And you're talking Cooper was better than all of them as a receiver. So you've got pedigree on his side. And then the biggest stage, I love Pat. I'm a Red Raider forever. He was hampered by the fact that he wasn't in a program that was well respected other than being quarterback U because of the stat fillers. But he's going to be on the biggest stage in college ball. And I think that's going to bode well for him. And it's also going to mean that if he can do it at this level on this stage, I think he could pass Mahomes eventually. I think he's got that talent, and that's a bold statement too. I may be wrong, but I just think he's got so many tools.
I mean, it's bold, especially when you think that Tom Brady's legacy. I mean, Tom Brady, I hate saying it because I hate Tom Brady. He's the GOAT. And
he is the GOAT.
In order to catch him, you got to win 7 championships.
Yep.
And Mahomes has 3.
Yep.
So.
And he might get number 4. And you're certain someone, yours truly's got a ticket that's waiting for $35,000 if he does. So you know I'm the biggest Chiefs fan and the biggest Mahomes fan ever right now.
You're certainly not a big Cowboys fan.
They got their ass kicked today by the Saints. And I know it's not NFL time, but that was ugly to watch.
Yeah, it was pretty brutal.
Now, let me ask you the question. Okay. Unless you want to comment on what I said about Manning.
No, go ahead. I think you brought up some good points, but go ahead and ask your question.
Okay, so we both saw yesterday. We both were excited. Do you see on the horizon a quarterback controversy at UT?
Potentially. I think if Ewers is banged up for the next couple of weeks, which all indications say that it's not a serious injury, if he plays next week, then no. I think they're going to stick with Ewers and bring Manning in the way they have been when they're up a bunch, when they want to be cautious with Ewers. But if Manning plays next week, and again, this is being recorded before we launch it, so if he winds up in the next couple of weeks starting, putting up numbers, then I would say that they would have to seriously consider playing him over Ewers. Even though Ewers is a Heisman hopeful, right? Maybe he's not going to be a top runner for the Heisman itself. Maybe Milroe from Bama is looking at that pretty strongly right now. But, I mean, Ewers has a lot of competition.
Yeah.
It's not just, we'll let the, freshman play or whatever. It's serious competition.
Yeah.
And I think that after yesterday's performance, you strongly have to think, hey, man, my job is not 100% secure if I can't play.
Yeah.
And especially if, like, let's say he comes back, he's not 100%, he starts struggling, then I think you see...
Struggling.
Then I think you see Arch Manning coming in and stepping up.
Yeah. I think if he's out a couple of weeks and they get to the Red River rivalry game, and let's say they beat him 48-0, and Manning just goes crazy, I think you're going to have a controversy at that point, because they're going to be like, yes. Because, look, we both agree. Whether Ewers takes another snap or not the rest of the year, he's going to be a first-round pick, because his body of work dictates that he's a damn good quarterback.
If he can't go, though, then his stock drops significantly. I think he, borderline end of the first round. There are going to be teams that are desperate for a quarterback, so I think someone's going to take him in the first round, regardless, like you said. But right now, he's sitting at that, top 15 sweet spot, maybe top 10.
Yeah.
But
Harrison Jr. sat out last year.
Yeah, but he already had a year where he dominated, even with the competition around him.
But some could say that people were saying if Ewers would have come out last year, he would have been a top 10 quarterback.
Oh, I don't agree with that. I don't.
But there were people saying that he could have been last year if he would have come out. He came out that he decided to play this year at UT because he really thinks that team's a national championship capable team, and they are.
Yeah.
But like I've said before, I think they're more so a shoe-in with that if Manning starts. I just think he gives them more.
I don't think they're a shoe-in if Manning starts. I think that Manning has the potential to be great, and I'm just curious to see how Manning would play against Georgia or OU. Because when you look at it, the only ranked opponents we have on our schedule right now are OU and Georgia left.
Yeah.
And maybe A&M at the very end sneaks up into the top 25.
They beat up on Florida yesterday.
They did. So they might be in the rankings. They might slip into the 20s, by the time we play them. So really, those are the only 3 ranked games. And even if A&M's not ranked, it's going to be a rivalry game. They're reviving that rivalry, so they're going to play each other like it was number 1 going against number 2.
Yeah.
But I definitely think that Georgia is going to be a litmus test, and OU is going to be a litmus test to see if this team is for real.
I couldn't have said it better.
And I do think that they're going to step up, ultimately.
Yep. I think that was exactly the way it needed to be said, and I think we can go ahead and end the segment on that. What do you say?
I say that's good.
All right. All right, folks. We're viewing the finish line about 100 yards away. We're both panting and we're both breathing heavy. We're coming up to that segment that we like to call
Sippin' Trivia.
This time, Stella Artois. Not Menage, Stella Artois. Anyway, it's a very good beer. If you've never had it, it's Belgian. I wish they'd sponsor us. Somebody please sponsor us from the booze world. We're drinking all your stuff.
We got to get more views, so please, guys.
Yeah, exactly. All right, man. So it's trivia time.
It's trivia time. Cheers.
You guys know the rules. Take a sip.
Yeah.
That's pretty good. Oh,
like
don't
Stella.
bubble over. Thank God. That would have been spillage. We're going to ask each other 3 questions, and whoever gets it right makes the other drink. Whoever gets it wrong has to drink.
Correct.
You want to start us off, sir?
Sure. So, Ricky Williams, who I'm repping right now,
Whoop, whoop.
one of my favorite running backs of all time,
Yeah.
won the Heisman at UT in 1998.
Yes, he did.
How many rushing touchdowns did he have that year?
32.
Incorrect. 27, which is still impressive.
I was close.
Yeah.
At least I didn't say something lame.
Yeah,
like
you were this
18.
close.
Yeah. Wow, 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 wow. All right, I got one for you.
Okay.
Who is the number one passer on the UT list of all time?
In terms of yards?
Yes.
I know it's not Vince Young. Is it Major Applewhite? Is it Colt?
It's Colt McCoy.
Oh, that was stupid. So, when Earl Campbell won the Heisman in 1977, did he have... Oh, in his career, did he have over 5,000 yards or under 5,000 yards?
It was under.
Yes. How many did he have?
I don't know, but it was in the fours. I know that.
It was 4,400.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I know, because, I mean, look, there's so much more offense generated now, so.
Yeah. And, the running game was a lot more heavily emphasized.
Yep, for sure. All right, so now I'm going to ask you this.
Go ahead.
Who was the second all-time leading rusher in UT history?
Rusher? Cedric Benson?
You got that right.
Yes. Because it was Earl Campbell 1, Benson 2, right?
Okay, extra sip bonus. Who's number 3?
Ricky Williams.
It's Earl Campbell, nuts.
Wait, I thought you said Earl was number 1.
No, it's Ricky Williams is number 1.
Oh, okay.
Benson's number 2. Earl's number 3.
Gotcha. Okay.
So, yeah.
I'll take a sip.
No, that's cool. Well, we're just making up excuses to drink now.
That's right.
All right, it's your turn. So we're tied.
Okay, my last question. In 2005, Vince Young finished second in Heisman voting.
Yes.
Next to Reggie Bush, who won the Heisman.
Yes.
Who came in fourth?
Wasn't it Matt Leinart?
He was third.
Oh.
He was third. Brady Quinn.
Oh my God!
One of my college
such a
heroes.
hard on for Brady Quinn.
Dude, okay, quick story. I wanted the Dolphins to draft Brady Quinn. I will never forget. And they got Ted freaking Ginn Jr. instead. That broke my heart because I thought if Brady Quinn had gone to the Dolphins, I think he would have had a better career. That's all I'm saying.
And how did that turn out?
It didn't, but whatever. He went to the Browns.
Yeah,
That's where you go to end your career.
That's the graveyard of losers. Now, we both are huge fans of the X-Man, Xavier Worthy.
Yes.
What number ranking all time in wide receiver yards is he at UT? And he is in there.
Give me a range. Top what?
Top 5.
He's in the top 5? I'm going to guess 3.
Number 4. But how amazing is that when you think about guys like Roy Williams and Jordan Shipley that are badasses. Jordan Shipley finished second all time.
Yeah.
Roy Williams is number 1 all time.
Right.
Not the guy that used to be the defensive back for the Dallas Cowboys.
The one that played for the Lions.
Receiver that played for the Lions, and then the Cowboys and sucked horribly when he was with Dallas.
He petered out.
Xavier Worthy is
Number
the truth,
4.
guys. He's the truth. I'm so excited. And I'm a Cowboys fan, even though they let me down every motherfucking week. I'm excited about this kid. I thought it was brilliant that Kansas City moved up to get him.
Yeah.
And you love him too. He's a badass,
The
man.
whole year last year, I was saying I wanted the Chiefs to get him because I felt like he fit their scheme really well. And, I mean, week 1, he has 2 touchdowns on 2 touches.
And breakaway speed too, guys.
I mean,
once he catches it, forget about it. He's the fastest man in the NFL right now.
I have him on my fantasy football team, and let's hope that he produces the way he did week 1 because
he's going to have to now since Hollywood is out.
Hollywood
for
Browns
the regular season.
Done. So
he might be in the postseason, but he's out for the regular season.
Yeah.
So it's going to fall on the X-Man.
Yeah.
All right, guys. Well, that's it. We're going to take another swig here. Cheers.
That's our episode. I had air bubble. That's our episode.
Yeah. Thank you again for being a part of number 9. We appreciate it. Tell your friends, tell your family, tell your baby mama, whatever. Just
subscribe.
Get people in here. Yeah. We're going to keep doing them as long as we can, as long as our producer can tolerate us.
All right. Well, thank you guys very much. We'll see you next time.